All right. Hey, everybody. So my name is K.Lane, and I am doing this project for my 640 Master's in Social Work Capstone project here at Grand Valley State University. I am an MSW candidate for 2023 winter semester. So let's get started here. All right. So just want to give you a little bit of introduction. The name of my project is Stopping the Cycle, Social Work and Recidivism. So I chose this topic out of personal interest. I took a course fall 22 semester um, through the Criminal Justice Department at the master level at Grand Valley State University. The name of that course was Race, Gender, and Class in the Criminal Justice System. I left that course with just wanting to explore the topic of how social workers could work better within the criminal justice system, like how we can stop the rates of recidivism. I think we're very well capable of doing that. So, with this being my final semester of the program, I decided to make this topic the center of my capstone project. So, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to Dr. Smith for this opportunity and allow me to complete this program. All right, so in this slide here, this is just a table of contents. The six areas that I'm going to discuss today within my project. So we're going to take a look at what is recidivism. We're going to look at the unmet needs of people on parole and probation. What does life look like outside of prison? Recidivism in Michigan, programs that are currently in place here, and lastly, how social workers can help. So, I think one of the first things you might be wondering if you're very new to this topic is what is recidivism? So, recidivism, what I've learned also is that there's so many definitions out there. I think that just about every state our correctional facility has a different definition for recidivism. But the main definition that's out there that I got from First Up Alliance is that recidivism is a person relapse into criminal behavior, often after the person's received a sanction or undergoes intervention for a previous crime. I also looked at recidivism. For me, what it meant was that it's a person relapse back into criminal behavior after being released from incarceration. So re-entering society can be very overwhelming for many reasons. And unfortunately, many people end up back in prison. Despite various prison reforms initiatives out there, the rate of recidivism here in the United States is still about 70% within the first 5 years of release. So again, going back to what I mentioned in that first slide is what makes recidivism so hard to define is because sometimes recidivism can refer to an arrest, other times it's reconviction, and for others it may mean the return to prison for a parole violation or new crime conviction. But all of these measures of recidivism tell a different story. So for instance, one might be arrested but never convicted, as that's often the case. So if recidivism is considered only at the point of arrest, it's also a gross estimate of criminal conduct, which can kind of skew numbers. And another problematic feature of recidivism studies is the inclusion of technical violations. Sometimes technical violations of parole are included in the studies of overall recidivism rates, but it's not always included. So, that makes it difficult to define, and it also makes it difficult to track and get accurate data on this. So, these effects can have distorting outcomes, as well as since technical violations are often non criminal activities that violate the conditions of parole, that it just opens another can of worms there. So, we really need to come up with a definite definition of recidivism when it comes to data collection and make sure that we are all on the same page in collecting the needed data that's needed so that we know what it is, what these numbers actually are, and what we need to do to reduce them. All right, so in this slide here, I have a video that got from Pew, and it talks about reducing recidivism, and it also gives a couple states and examples of what they're doing to reduce recidivism. Interesting fact from in this video clip that 4 out of 10 offenders will return back to prison. And in this video, they talk about how in Ohio they do a risk assessment and how that helps um, people that are coming out of prison makes better decisions, and it's kind of a target of change by doing that risk assessment. And there was a 30% cut of reoffending when it came to that risk assessment. There was also talk of motivational interviewing, how building trust and rapport. I feel that that is so key. And I feel like with the clients that I work with, that's my first approach step is motivational interviewing, because I need to build trust and rapport with my clients so that we can come together and work on things that need to be worked on, find out what needs need to be taken care of first. But it's just so important to build that rapport. A client is not going to want to work with you if you have no interest in learning more about their story and figuring out ways that you can help them. I think that's very important. So I really like the idea of them talking about motivational interviewing here. And then swift and certain sanctions. That was very interesting. This is talked about in Hawaii, where offenders with the Hope Project there, they go to jail every time they offend. And that is their way of keeping people out of prison. But it was interesting, there was a number that was thrown in there that 55% of clients that went through that program were less likely to reoffend because they know that they're going to just end up going back to jail. So that was a very interesting take for me, that swift and certain sanctions, and maybe one day I'll get to dive more into that. But this take a look at this video, and it's going to give you some really good information about reducing recidivism and what other states are doing. All right, so in this slide, there is another video about how probation and parole fail people and create poverty. This is a very key, this is a very key thing that truly affects people. Poverty. Let's just get right into it. So I'm just going to talk about the three unmet needs of people on parole and probation. The first is income support. In this video, I'll talk about that as well. But poverty. People need a basic floor of financial stability. If you do not have the income or a means to make money, you're not going to be successful. You're going to just cycle right back into the system. Many times, this has been my personal experience with working with clients. This has been their experience and their story. Well, I can't find a job. No one wants to hire me. I don't have any money. So I went back out to the streets to start, stealing or doing whatever. And that's what made them land back into the system is poverty. We need income, and we know there's huge barriers with that. When you have a record, it's so hard to gain employment opportunities, and then that also leads to the need for access to healthcare. That was the second need. Um, there is a huge need for mental and substance abuse treatment while offenders are incarcerated. This is a need during incarceration, and it is a need after incarceration. And so many of these needs go unmet while a client is still incarcerated. They don't get that support that they need. So when they get released and back out into that environment, they're going to go right back out to using, or their mental health illnesses are going to be, you know, they're going to be brought on by like the stress and worry, and that's just going to further make a client more symptomatic and have issues. So they need access to healthcare, and I think this is one thing that when you go to get released from jail or prison, that you should be getting connected to a PCP or counseling within your communities. Like, those resources are so needed. And the third, which is probably the most important thing, is housing stability. If you do not have stable housing or family, you are going to end up back in the shelter system or on the streets. And while the shelter system is not ideal for some, especially if you don't have those extra supports that are needed, such as, mental health treatment and substance abuse, you're just going to cycle back in through that. And we know that with housing is really hard when you have a record to, get an apartment or a room. If you don't have any type of income or if you have this record, it can lead you from not obtaining the housing that you need. Or going back out into the community, if you're going back to home, we don't know how that home environment was before the person was incarcerated. Sometimes going back home isn't ideal neither, and our families are not equipped to handle these situations. I know from my own personal experience growing up in a household that, it's crowded and it's just, it's just not a place you want to be. Or, it kind of sometimes I think going back into home, especially if it's crowded or not the ideal environment, you just want to get out of there. So you do refer back to the streets or the shelter system. And is this not stable? And without stable housing, other things in your life won't be stable as well. So yeah, take a look at that video and it's going to go over those key things. And I just think that those are just such important things. And there's also a graph here from Prison Policy Initiative. I love Prison Policy Initiative. I'm on their email list and I get like all their updates, but it just shows that people on probation and parole have higher rates of mental health and substance use disorder. Look at that compared to like the general population. Those rates are much higher. So you see right off the bat that that is a very unmet need of people on parole and probation. So on this side, we're just going to talk about recidivism in Michigan. So I found some data from the Department of Corrections, and 23.6% of prisoners released in Michigan return to prison within the next 3 years. But also, this was the lowest mark in the state's history and the fourth lowest in the nation, according to the Department of Corrections. So I thought that was very interesting. That's a very interesting statistic. And also, populations affected by recidivism, the most are Black and Latinos, and communities experiencing higher rates of poverty. So these are, your communities when you look at to like Kent and Muskegon County, Muskegon Heights, and even some of those smaller rural counties, because of the higher rates of poverty, these communities are really affected by recidivism. So I just thought that was interesting to note. And also, we want to take a look at what's going on here in our state. So the next thing that I looked at was programs that are currently in place. So here in Michigan, there is a there's a couple of programs currently, and one of them within the Department of DLC is called Vocational Village. And in the Huron prison system in Ionia is where Vocational Village is offered. What this is for male prisoners is this is a place where offenders come, they're still incarcerated, but they learn different types of trades. And they tend to follow those trades based off the Bureau of Labor statistics of trades that are in high demand within our communities here in Michigan. So in this video, it's going to show you how persons, clients that are incarcerated, how some of them have went on to learn automotive, HVAC, electrical trades, and how valuable Vocational Village is. Vocational Village is a place where these clients that are incarcerated can go learn a trade so that when they are released, they can go off into their community, get a job, gain gainful employment, and be successful. I feel that this is a wonderful program, and I really like how the program works with different partners within the state of Michigan, and they also work very closely with, hold on, I'm losing my train of thought here, workforce development, such as Michigan Works. They work very closely with them. So, that these clients that participate in this program are all housed together. They also get different supports. They participate in group treatment, counseling, mental health counseling, along with their vocational training. And you'll also hear first accounts from clients that are currently incarcerated and how they feel that these programs are going to help them be successful once they are released. And in this video clip, we're going to learn a little bit more about the New Beginnings program for women. I just want to highlight this program and talk about it real quickly. But the New Beginning programs for women is a program that's currently within Muskegon, Kent, and Ottawa counties. This program offers mentorship, case management support for women that are currently incarcerated within the jail system. And what this program does is it provides support through mentorship and case management, where they actually go into the jail system and work with women so that after they're released, they can become gainfully employed. And they help with things such as housing, healthcare, and this making sure that women are connected to the resources that are needed for taking steps outside of the jail system. I think this is a really great program, and I'm super excited to learn more about it. I did not know that it exists until a coworker brought me a flyer and was like, "Hey, maybe you can use this for some of your clients." So I'm like, "Wow, this is great." So it's really good to see programs for women as well, because I mean, both male and females need opportunities that will help them in the long run so that they can stay out of jail and prison. So take a look at that video. All right, and to kind of just wrap up my presentation here, I'm going to talk about how social workers can help. And also, I'm just going to say that while even with these type of programs, they only go so far in reducing overall recidivism rates. Even with these programs being available, the barriers to employment and economic success for formerly incarcerated people are substantial. And the stigma of a criminal record can really deter employers from hiring formerly incarcerated people, who many assume to be untrustworthy and antisocial. In addition to returning to communities that lack resources and have high rates of poverty, it further amplifies the distressing circumstances that lead to criminal behavior. But as social workers, I do want to say that we are trained in so many different areas. We provide therapy and treatment to clients, and there is a huge need for social workers within the correctional and criminal justice system. Social workers can help by providing assessment and treatment to clients and connecting clients to needed services once they are released. While clients are completing their time, social workers and therapists can help by providing therapeutic interventions to clients one-on-one or in a group setting, making sure that before clients are released, they have the needed support in place and know about their local community resources. Within our BSW and MSW programs at universities here all across Michigan, there should be collaboration within their criminal justice programs on creating a bridge toward career paths within the criminal justice systems that focus on therapeutic interventions. Social workers can work with the criminal justice system on a micro, macro, and meso level. With the help, we can help with advocating for programs and more services for clients within a correctional facility. A person cannot heal in the same environment that wounded them without proper care. Poverty, lack of employment opportunities, and family connections all play a role in the client's outcome once they are released. Proper support is needed to ensure that recidivism is not an option. Thank you for your time and for listening to this report. If you have any questions or concerns, my email is listed here. My personal email. Feel free. Sorry for jamming my words, but feel free to email me if you have any questions or concerns, or if you want to have a conversation about this, or if you know of any other resources out there. I love to talk to you. We can set up a time and talk, or we can chat via email, whatever. But thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope that you all find this information useful. Thanks and have a good day and good luck to all the MSW grads out there. Let's go out there and be world changers. Peace and love, everyone.